Today, we're addressing your FPCs, also known as frequently posted complaints. Believe it or not, we read all of the comments y'all post on our videos. I've got a bunch of them in here that we are going to randomly draw and address. Here we go, drawing number 1. And yeah, I've seen this one. How hot does steamed milk actually get in a super auto? Let's talk about it. This is actually a really good question because when you're steaming milk on a semi-automatic machine, you have really dynamic control over how hot your milk is going to get. Whether you want it at a warmer temperature, you just stop steaming earlier. If you want it really, really hot, you'll stop steaming later. That's gonna bring it all the way up to temperature. On a super automatic, you're just sort of ordering the milk and letting it run its program. We're gonna be using the Eletta Explorer from DeLonghi to just kind of run this experiment, and we'll use a thermometer to check and see how hot the milk gets. Now that we've got everything set up, I'm just gonna be ordering the default hot milk on this machine so we can see the results. So the temperature of this milk came right up to 150 degrees, which is right in line with a Specialty Coffee Association standard for serving. Cafe standard service is, on a technical basis, 155. So while we're just a few degrees shy, this is plenty close enough to drink right away. Now, part of the trouble with super automatic machines is that they serve coffee that is meant to be drank right away. So when you're loading this into a tumbler and drinking it on your way to work, it's going to drink a little bit cooler. A couple tricks that I find help this out is if I can fill my cup with hot water beforehand, I won't lose as much temperature and it'll maintain that more pleasant drinking experience. Well, that's it for that one. On to the next. Why didn't you show the exact grind settings? This is a question that we get all the time, and it comes down to a lot of curiosity and people wanting to be able to brew the shot they see on our channel at home. The reason why we don't share is there is so much variance when it comes to everything espresso. It depends on your grinder, your espresso machine, the coffee you are trying to brew, and there is enough difference even within models of the same machine that us sharing that information won't be necessarily helpful to you at home. That being said, I'm gonna share my exact recipe, machine, grind settings, and coffee with y'all so we can see how this shot turns out together. The machines we're going to be using today are the Ascaso Dream PID and the Eureka Mignon Zero, and we'll be brewing up the Brazil Signature Series from Methodical Coffee. Starting off with our dose measurement. Because the Ascaso's basket is a little bit smaller, I'm going to be doing a 16-gram dose of coffee. Perfect. Throwing that into our grinder, which we currently have set up to number 2.5 on this grinder. On the Eureka grinders specifically, that 2.5 measurement isn't particularly helpful as these dials can do multiple full rotations past 0 or around the other way. So it's about feeling it out and the relative number. We've said in a bunch of our dial-in videos, you want to move finer if you want your shot to slow down and move coarser if you want your shot to speed up. And that's where those numbers are really, really helpful for you setting up your grind size and dialing in. All right, here we go. Wonderful. So I was going for about a 1 to 2.5 ratio there, and it pulled in 25 seconds. So this is well within my parameters for this coffee, which drinks a little bit fuller and richer, so wanted to build this one out a little bit more. Really, really solid espresso, deep, rich chocolate flavor. I always encourage experimenting with coffee. Try out a different recipe, see what you enjoy with the coffee you're brewing at home. Well, that's everything on that one. Third. Where is Gail? Gail is happily retired, but she still checks in with us occasionally. If you'd like to leave her a message, drop it in the comments and we'll be sure to let her know to take a look. Hi, Gail. All right, we have time for one more today. How hot does the coffee actually get? This is another great question, and honestly, it's pretty hard to measure. Good news for us is that many of our coffee brewers are SCA certified, meaning they will brew at the SCA ideal temperatures, somewhere between 195 and 205 degrees Fahrenheit, or 93 and 96 degrees Celsius. But the coffee they serve will actually be a little bit cooler. They will have dripped through coffee grounds, fallen through air, and then likely fallen into a cold carafe. Just like with our steamed milk, if we take the time to preheat our carafe, your service temperature is going to be a little bit hotter. I've prepared my ratio 4 here with 30 grams of Camber's dialed in coffee, and we're just gonna essentially let it run through a brew process and measure the temperature afterwards. Something that's kind of fun about the sensory experience of coffee is that when it is too hot or too cold, our tasting experience of that coffee is going to change. As coffee cools and gets a little bit closer to our own body temperature, we're actually gonna be able to taste a bunch of different flavor components than when the coffee is really incredibly hot. And then when it cools down, we're gonna start to taste some more of the acidic components. So there's this perfect meeting point in the middle for hot brewed coffee when it's going to taste best for you. Now that it's done brewing, we're gonna check the temperature right away to try and catch it at its hottest temperature. And this is serving right around 160, which makes perfect sense given those couple areas of temperature loss. If I were looking to increase the temperature, again, I just would put like some boiling water in the carafe to preheat it and then dump it out right before I start brewing. That's gonna raise my service temperature and keep things really, really nice and hot. We're gonna open up the floodgates here. Please let us know what other questions you have in the comments or anything you want to see clarified in the future.